year is 1993, and after many years in development, id Software had just released their hit game, Doom. It was a phenomenon, and needless to say, the fans wanted more from this up-and-coming studio. And so, naturally, the only thing the boys at id Software could do was drop a banger.
Told her, Deja, give me that deja vu. Yeah, that's true. Hit him with the one song on the, since we pulling up on the E-way, made me wanna hit the floor like free.
Quake was everywhere. In a time where very few games of quality were on the market, id Software simply cooked, somehow crafting up two of the best games of all time in a row. Quake's precise gunplay, lightning-fast movement blended perfectly together, and eventually culminated into what was the biggest game in the world, and the first game which was taken somewhat seriously as a competitive sport. And all of this was plugged into a never-before-seen multiplayer mode, something which we will later call Deathmatch. Essentially, you just drop a bunch of guys in a room, and they fight till they get to 35 kills, which would probably be fun by itself, but Quake's map design is what makes it such a beloved title. I'm not going to harp on the intricacies of Quake's map design because honestly I think it warrants a video of its own, so I'll give you the footnotes. Quake's maps were perfectly crafted in order to reward intense movement like bee-hopping and rocket jumping, while also directing the flow of fights, having larger areas where many players can battle it out, but also having small hallways where 1v1s can occur. And each power spawn basically boiled down into a competition for who has labbed more hours bee-hopping or rocket jumping, which is actually more of a game design aspect than map design, but it still needed to be mentioned. Quake's single-player mode was viewed as a spectacular Lovecraftian tale about fighting demons. Very creative id. However, Quake's multiplayer mode was a masterpiece and pioneered a genre all by itself. And so naturally, if people looked at it so fondly and so many young devs were inspired, you should see some studios implementing this game mode into their future titles, and that you did. Because in 1998, Valve released what still is one of the greatest video games of all time.
Niggas talk a lot of shit, but ain't nothing done. Ideas is like...
Quake was known for its insanely fast movement. Well, Half-Life was probably faster. And Quake was also known for its variety of incredibly distinct weapons. Half-Life has more. But Quake was also known for its incredible map design. Well, Half-Life had some of the best maps of all time. And so you better believe me when I say Half-Life was magical, and its deathmatch mode was no different. The gameplay is simple, it's just the first person to get to 35 kills wins, but people love this game for the destination, not the journey. That's not right. People love this game for the journey, not the destination. And nothing better encapsulates this journey than one weapon. The Tau Cannon is the heart and soul of this game. It allows for insane movement, some of the craziest I've ever seen, while also being an insanely high skill ceiling ray gun. Familiar. And so when I compare the Tau Cannon in this game to weapons like the AWP or the Shine in Melee, I'm not kidding, because much like those other weapons, the Tau Cannon raises the skill ceiling for the game higher than I ever thought was possible. But this isn't the only weapon. Every single item in Half-Life has a use in this mode, except for the Snarks. I seriously don't know why they're in this. But even with the Snarks, Half-Life's deathmatch game mode became a foundational pillar in a genre which only had 2 games up to this point, and somehow found a way to inspire even more young developers than Quake did. And a few of these young developers happened to work at a company known as Bungie. And so when they were developing the small indie title for the Xbox known as Halo, they found it necessary to implement the arena shooter genre in the game in some way. And I don't have to go in depth for you to know that it worked. Halo's deathmatch game mode was spectacular, and most of all, it was huge. And the one thing that separated it from the arena shooters of old was that it took place on a home console. You see, before Halo, the arena shooter genre was only available to be played on top-of-the-line PCs, which were very uncommon at the time. And this meant that with Halo being on a home console, there are likely to be a lot more eyes on the genre, and in turn, more people wanting to make games in this genre. But sadly, this eventually turned into a negative for the arena shooter genre. As with more and more games, and at least like 20 Battlefields and Halos implementing deathmatch mode, the classic arena shooter style, which was at one point dominating the industry, had been relegated to a small game mode in most titles, which eventually led the genre to die out for a few years. Not many titles were even being released with a deathmatch game mode anymore. But lucky for us, the classic arena shooter style isn't completely gone anymore, and there are still spectacular standalone titles being released to this day. such as Quake Champions in 2017. It attempted to blend the iconic gameplay of Quake with the class-based style of Overwatch, which was extremely popular at the time. And although this wasn't exactly well received by the masses, Joe Rogan likes it, so it can't be that bad. But overall, the game lacked a significant change to the genre besides the class-based system, which, as we all know, didn't pan out. And so it ended up just feeling like a Quake remake, and a poor one at that. But if you're looking for a newer arena shooter and something a little more original, may I guide you to my current favorite one, Open Fortress. Open Fortress is a TF2 mod which can warrant its own video. It is insanely fun. The game seeks to blend together what made the arena shooters of the past so special. It mixes Half-Life's incredible map design and weapon variety with Quake's lightning-fast movement and precise gunplay. The developers even went the extra mile to implement good old bunny hopping into the source engine, which is something that simply isn't possible with the base version of the engine. And this mixed with TF2 style rocket jumping creates an incredibly deep movement system, and something I view to be better than every arena shooter before it. Obviously, being a TF2 mod, you'd think Open Fortress simply had the base weapons, but no, it actually has a plethora of new weapons. Some of these are extremely fun and extremely broken, the quad launcher especially. And so the insanely deep movement combining with the incredible weapon design creates a product with endless replayability. I mean, since discovering this game a few months ago, I have accumulated over 400 hours on the Source SDK the game runs on. It's needless to say, this is a good game. But what's more important than the gameplay is the standard this sets for future titles in the genre. Open Fortress showed that the classic arena shooter style can not only live in today's landscape, but prosper. And in a time where new game releases are few and far between, maybe this is exactly what we need. Overall, I think it'd be pretty fun. 10 out of 10.